Let's talk a little bit about potentially why your business is stuck. Now, not necessarily in a dramatic, it's all broken and life's horrible type of way. But realistically, at any point in running a business online, you are always going to have something that is potentially blocked. And it usually comes into like 8 different phases or buckets, so to speak. And I put together a quick doc that's going to break down how do we start diagnosing or self-diagnosing where our focus needs to be and based on what we actually need to be fixing inside of our brand so that way we're not actually optimizing to fix the wrong problems. Now, I did this a lot in my business. I would tell myself there was a problem that wasn't real, and then eventually that was where all my energy was going, when realistically that wasn't even the challenge that I was facing in my business. So then I would waste months or weeks or a lot of time and energy trying to fix challenges that weren't even the problem inside of my business. So 1 of 8, your business isn't broken everywhere. It's blocked at exactly 1 of 8 stages, and you're almost certainly working on the wrong one. So when somebody tells me business is slow, they've almost always already decided why. I need more leads. My content isn't working. I need to fix my offer. And a lot of the times they're wrong. I've been wrong for a lot of times in my business, not because they're careless, but because a blockage in one place makes everything else after it look broken. If nobody's seeing your stuff, your offer looks like it's the problem. If the wrong people are seeing it, your DMs look like the problem. You end up rebuilding the thing that was fine. So before you fix anything, you have to find out where it's actually stuck. There are 8 moving parts. They run in order and they all feed each other. You have attention, traffic, leads, conversations, offer, conversions, aka sales. You have clients and cash flow. If any one of the 8 is off, it can cause havoc in everything downstream, not in the part that's broken, but in the parts after it. That's the whole idea. The rest of this is just walking through the 8 and being honest, which one is yours? So as an example, if I'm blocked at lead flow / conversation, it could potentially make me feel like everything else in my business is actually broken when this is the problem, right? So then I'm going to start optimizing for or this or my offer, and then it's going to really even have any effect on anything else in my brand. So this is a good exercise for you guys to look at your own business, walk the 8, go in order. Don't skip to the one you assume it is. Assumption is the problem. Attention, how do we get it? Content. If you're not getting attention, it's almost the content itself, right? If you're not getting like eyeballs on your brand or awareness, it usually comes down to either the format or the topics of the content, or the consistency of content is not enough, right? So not enough being posted, the message is off, the lead magnet isn't hitting right, the desire or want isn't there, you're not hitting the right pains or the angles. The fix for this is testing more hooks, stronger hooks, even controversial hooks. Same for posts and email headlines. It needs to hit them right between the eyes and make them want to read more and follow your CTA, or at a minimum, engage. And then we have creating desire and then making it easy. Traffic is what happens when someone wants to get closer to you and you've made that simple. A live, a past training, a resource, something that they actually need or want based on what it does for them. That's probably the biggest thing, what it does for them. We need to answer that question. In just about everything we do in business, we need to make it crystal clear what it is for the audience. Otherwise, they're not going to make any moves. If lead flow isn't there, it's usually one of these 3. You're not getting the right attention or too much of the wrong attention. That can also be a problem in business. You're creating content that is super obscure to your actual business, right? And it's not actually bringing any congruent traffic to your business. If I only create content about being a dad and I don't sell a product that's related to being a dad, all the traffic in the world isn't going to matter, or all the attention in the world isn't going to matter because there's not a congruent line to what I'm actually trying to get people to do or move forward with in my business. Content is missing the mark on the hook or the overall message. So that'll also come down to playing some angles, testing different angles, different nuances, pains, stories, etc. Or it isn't just hitting hard enough to put anyone in motion. And what I mean by hitting hard enough to put anyone in motion is it isn't striking a deep enough nerve to actually get them to move forward in your process, in your lead flow or into your system, because there is no pain. And I know it sounds bad, but you need to apply pressure onto a pain. Your job as a marketer, as someone who's building a brand and a personal brand online, is to find a painful situation your audience is in, and you apply continuous, steady pressure on that. It's like they have a bruise on their side and you just put your thumb on it and you just push on it and you just keep your thumb there until it's like, I'm willing to do anything for you to take your hand off. Now rolling into number 3, leads. And this is one that traps a lot of people. I know it did in my business a lot. Here's the line that saves a lot of people a lot of wasted time and a lot of wasted work. You could actually have a conversion problem, not a lead problem. You don't need more leads, you need better leads. Because this is a big thing that a lot of people, and I know myself, I projected this a lot in my business where I constantly thought I needed more people and more influence and more lead flow. And that was going to be the biggest solution to my problem. So then I would eventually end up diluting what I was doing in my business to try to facilitate more lead flow. And it wouldn't actually increase my income. I need more leads is the most common wrong diagnosis in this business. More of the wrong people is not progress. It's actually probably going to do more damage to your business than good. I'll never forget. I remember this was many years ago. Someone was bragging because they got 11,000 leads in a day, but they didn't make any money. They didn't make any sales. What does that actually mean in your business, right? More leads doesn't matter if they are the wrong leads. And then here's 2 proactive approaches if you don't want to necessarily wait for lead flow. Engage or outreach, start conversations with people already engaging in your content, written or video, even if they're not commenting. And again, if you are doing engage or outreach, I'm not saying we're going to go start a conversation with them and be like, hey, buy my product. We're just starting that dialogue and starting to build that rapport and that relationship with them and accelerating that relationship. And then another one is you can spark conversations off story views, either your own stories, or you can also respond to other people's stories is a really easy way. And again, these need to be very low pressure. If you are looking at more lead flow, ways to increase lead flow. But again, my honest opinion is a lot of the times we don't need more people, we need higher quality people. It'd be more advantageous for your business if you had 100 highly targeted people that were interested in what you do and how you help them, and you already knew that you had a product that was priced at $500 or whatever it is, than it is to have 1,000 people on your email list that don't ever even open them because they followed you for a t-shirt you wore. So neither one of these are meant to convert. These are meant to fill your pipeline later, just kickstart some form of relationship and actually starting to get on that process of building a relationship with the person. Then we have number 4, which is conversations, 2 modes, and you pick. This is the one that most people don't realize that they have an approach inside of. It's going to depend on what season you're in or what you're optimizing for in your business at right this second, right? So you have a high volume approach and a low volume approach. So this is an example of conversations. Content style would be short, punchier, results, outcome focused. What it will produce, you have more conversations, further back and forth, right? You're going to have more back and forth, more diagnosing, more objections, etc. When you should use it early in a promotion, stacking the inbox for people to nurture, or just when you need the reps. The cost, converting takes real legwork on your end. So if you are optimizing for high volume, it's going to make your sales process a little bit harder, right? Or you have a low volume approach, longer, plan-based tactics, strategies, what's happening in the business with the results embedded in stories. This is as far as content style. What it produces, far fewer conversations, but distance from hello to offer is very short. Use it when evergreen selling, not in a hard promotion, or when you're overwhelmed with the amount of conversations you have already. Cost, there simply just aren't as many. So there's not going to be as many conversations or as many things happening. Realistically, you will probably ebb and flow between both of these. You can pivot between these on a daily basis, depend on what you actually need. And realistically, it's just changing between what you're optimizing for. Am I optimizing for a higher volume, more lead flow, or less? Do I want better people or lower quality people? Which I know that sounds bad, not like people are more low quality. But when I say lower quality, how far are they from actually being ready to purchase? So these are 2 modes that you guys can have in your conversations or your DMs or what you're optimizing for lead flow. And it's not black and white, right? That's the other thing too. If you want easy sales, you want to go more targeted, but that is going to throttle the volume. If you want to get raw volume and you want more reps and you want more conversations and you want more exposure, then you would go more of a high volume approach. And then we have getting the document in front of qualified people. Now, this isn't necessarily, I know I create a lot of content, so I don't know why I put an S on that. I create a lot of content about creating offers and actual offer documents. But when I say offers, are you actually asking people to buy your product? Are you actually asking people to buy your program? This is probably one of the biggest metrics that people are completely missing the mark on in their business. They will send their offer 2 or 3 times and then wonder why they're not making a bunch of money. Or they will create an offer document and then they will send it to 4 people and be like, oh, nobody bought, it's broken. This number, and what I mean by this is the number of times you are asking somebody to buy your program is the number 1 metric that you should be tracking And at a bare minimum, you need to at least be asking for the number of sales to match your income goal, right? So if you have a 10K per month income goal, it is literally impossible for you to make 10K per month if you are not asking at least 10K per month in transactions. Realistically, you're probably gonna need to ask 20, 30, 40K in transactions, depending on the content and the ecosystem that you've built. But this is the number one thing that I see hanging so many people up in their business. And it's literally impossible. If you have a $500 offer, you need to, at a minimum, be asking 20 people a month to buy your product. Otherwise, making $10,000 a month is impossible. It's not going to happen. It can't happen. You're not even giving yourself the opportunity to make that money because you're not asking for the sale. Moving them through the awareness, this is an example of moving them through the awareness ladder. You could do this in content, being aware of that they have a problem, why the problem is the actual problem, what happens if they don't get it fixed, knowing there's a solution available, what's the best solution is, what changes when the problem is gone, how life and business are different afterwards. Okay. Content that lands here is heavier on the plan, how you get them a specific result, and hard hitting on what's actually annoying them right now. The formula that I've talked a lot about over the years is about helping you get to X result while removing something you hate. Now I'll give you an example of vague versus specific. This 4-day workshop will help you generate more leads and sales without calls. Want to see it? That's like vague, what 99% of the market is doing in their content, and being generalists, and they're blending in with everybody else. Specific, we took a client with zero social media to over $10,000 profit in 96 days with our simple 4-step process. You can have it running by tomorrow. It's an example of a very specific line of copy versus a very vague line of copy. But again, this is a huge metric that you need to track in your business. And this is also kind of a piggyback on number 6 for people who saw it and didn't move. And this is like giving yourself the opportunity to get no's. And this is also another thing that I think a lot of people have a lot of fear around, right? They don't ask for the sale, or they don't ask for someone to buy their product or service because they're a little timid or nervous around getting told no. And that's just a part of the game that you're going to be playing. So it's like, when you get told no, ask, get actual feedback, right? This is also another thing. If somebody tells you, no, I don't want to buy your program, figure out why, right? This will help make your marketing better and your content better, because then you can use those objections in your content and your marketing. You can relay that back into the actual content, or you can tweak the offer itself or the product that you're selling to align with that a little bit better, using these actual things that are happening in your business to refuel the business and improve the business. Spicing up the offer itself, more leverage resources, or eat some margin to upfront to build leverage later, or an outcome focused anchor at the end. If you can add that while removing something, hey, you're golden. So what I mean by this is, like, if you're in a conversation with somebody and somebody's like, oh, well, I really wish that this had a one-on-one call, or I wish this had a resource on this, or hey, I love this offer, but I'm actually struggling with A, B, and C. Can you add A, B, and C to get the client, to get the customer, to get them into the offer? We're only limited to our own creativity. And if you can start curating your actual sales processes to the customers a little bit, you're going to have a lot higher conversion rate. Check clarity. Is it crystal clear on what problems they're solving inside? Do they actually know what they'll be doing? Posting content, shooting video. This is a very big one for a lot of people. When I look at their offers, it's like, build a business. What does that mean? What does building a business actually mean? We want to paint a picture in our audience. What does their Tuesday look like? What does it act when they wake up? What are they doing? How are they doing it? Where are they posting content? What kind of content? How long is the content? We need to paint these pictures like crystal clear to our audience to leave absolutely no question. Especially if you're earlier in business, you can't afford to be vague. You can't afford to be general, because you are going to get buried by people who have a lot of influence. You have to actually get crystal clear on the actual pain that it is helping people solve, but the actual steps that they are going to take to get the transformation that you are providing. This is where a lot of earlier online business owners get hung up, because they go way too vague. They go way too general. I help you build an online business by posting videos. So does everybody else and their mother. How do you start distincting yourself from everybody else in the market? Because you are more specific and you have a unique way of actually helping people get the same result, but you have to paint that picture. Embrace your inner Bob Ross and do this in your content, in your marketing, in your offers, in your documents, in your lead magnets. We need to make your audience feel like, oh, I understand completely what I'm doing, but this is for me because this is exactly what I'm struggling with. The next bullet is checking fit. Are you lobbing invites to people who aren't good fits? What can they actually commit, budget, and time? Right. This is also another problem that I see a lot of people doing. And I did this a lot in my business is as soon as somebody showed any level of interest, I was lobbing them invitation for an $1,000 program. And looking at my business now, they're not at the point of being ready to buy. They're not at the point of even being ready to purchase. They don't know enough about my business or my model to even be comfortable purchasing. So we need to be aware of who we're actually asking to purchase our program or how fast we're asking them to buy. This is also going to get increasingly worse the more expensive your product is, right? If you're selling a more expensive offer, your audience needs more time to marinate. They need to have more time to digest and learn things from you. You can't just lob a $10,000 offer to a complete stranger because they're not going to purchase, right? Or also just thinking about the target market that you're working with. If you're working with a brand new beginner, they're probably not going to be comfortable forking out $5,000 for a program if they don't even know what affiliate marketing is, right? So these are things to be aware of in your actual conversion process. Are you actually optimizing to sell to the right person, or are you just lobbing invites to people who don't even understand what you do? They don't know anything about your business or your model. So in the counterintuitive one, giving yourself more opportunities to get told no, not right now, is what opens the door for people to say yes. I'm not saying we need to chase no's, and that's not necessarily the metric I would be tracking, but that's just a part of the process. It's how business goes. So 3 things that will weigh on how easy your conversions or your sales are: your authority, your results, yours or your clients or the products, and how much content they have consumed before they ever even spoke to you. This is probably one of the biggest ones. The longer that somebody has been watching you, the easier it is to sell. The easier it is to sell your offers. If they've been consuming and binging your stuff for a long time, sales are relatively easy and low pressure, versus if they're new to your world and they're new to your ecosystem and they just started following you yesterday, you're going to have to work harder to sell them that actual product. You're going to have to lift up that weight, usually in your sales process. Clients, this is the part decides whether any of this compounds. If you're actually trying to build a business that compounds, this is something that I've lived and preached and taught by for the last 6 years. A lot of the market loves to look at relationships end after you buy. And I'm going to tell you right now, some of my easiest sales in business, and the reason I've had clients who've paid and stayed for many years, is because of this, because this is how I look at this. The relationship begins after the yes is something that my mentor told me many years ago. And that is realistically how close the relationship gets after somebody purchases. Because realistically, if you can have a good experience after someone purchases something from you, they will buy the next thing from you and the next thing. So instead of constantly ending up having to chase strangers to buy your products and business, you can build a business where people literally just keep repeat customers. Getting them is half, keeping them is what sends the lifetime value through the roof. Okay. So here's some buckets that we need to look at checking. So prioritize the post-purchase relationship. And yes, this means even if you're an affiliate, even if you're a digital product seller, this is probably one of the biggest opportunities that I see a lot of the digital product sellers or the affiliates completely missing out on, because they're just constantly chasing new customers to come buy this program. And it's like, as soon as you buy this offer, it's like the relationship's done. And that's the worst way to look at business, especially if you want to play this game for a long time and you don't want to constantly have to chase new folks. Early on, sell a handful of spots to something lower ticket and genuinely over deliver for those people. If they get value, they become your high ticket buyers, right? So if somebody has a really good relationship with you or a good experience on one product, they will usually buy another product from you. Time limits. This is a really powerful one that you guys can do on any type of coaching or support. They buy X and get X time. This evolves as your authority grows and your brand grows. One-to-one access naturally shrinks as you grow, as you're solving bigger and bigger problems. There's that paradox in business where the more success that you have, the less access people will get. But this is probably one of the biggest levers you could pull on if you are sub 10K per month, is giving one-to-one access and then packaging it up until they get a weekly one-on-one call for 12 weeks after they buy my high ticket offer. And I'm not saying you have to do that forever, but it's a really powerful evolution that you guys can bake into your guys' offers or your business. That's probably one of the strongest levers you can pull on, would be any type of support or proximity. And the cool part about proximity, you can do proximity-based offers after you start having a lot of success too. You can charge premium priced retainers for proximity. We used to have a self-paced coaching program that was like $2K per year. And it came with a kickoff call, a done for you plan. And then we would work with them on these group calls. And then if they wanted one-to-one, then it was like a $500 a month retainer where we would do monthly one-on-one calls with them. Right. So that was already after our business had a lot of success. So you can, as your income and your actual results scale, you can start scaling that proximity price. And then you have ethical ascension, do a thing, build an offer showing you how you do that thing. And when I talk about ascending, I think ascending has a bad relationship, or there's a bad taste in people's mouth, because when people hear about ascension or upselling people, it's not necessarily the art of leaving things out or gatekeeping things so that way you can sell them the next product. It's more of helping them get the transformation or the result that you promised inside of your product, and then finding the congruent problem that you can upsell them to. Right? I was just saying, if I had a really good experience with you and I helped you take your business to 6 figures, well, how about the next 12 months that we work together, we work on scaling it to $300K a year, and we actually start working on different problems that you're going to run into in your business. Not more of the same stuff or just trying to ascend them to the exact same offer. There does have to be a distinction between offer 1 and offer 2, or offer 2 and offer 3. Cash flow, the end, that opens everything. Cash flow is the art of having money transfer from people's else possessions to yours. It's the end goal that opens more opportunities. Now, cash flow is, there's a lot of different things we could talk about when it comes to cash flow. Keeping money and earning money are 2 completely different skill sets that in business and entrepreneurship, you will definitely have to learn. If you don't, you will ruin your business because you inflate your lifestyle based on the amount of money you're making, and then you end up becoming a slave to the business you don't even like. But that's a story for a different day. The other thing too that you guys can do as far as cash flow, this is a really powerful one, is meeting people where they're at. Custom offers and testing pricing have saved a lot of sales that otherwise wouldn't have happened. I'll never forget, I had this customer who I had $1,000 offer at the time, and they wanted this program and they couldn't afford it. So I ended up selling it to them for $75 a month. And that person turned around and made tens of thousands of dollars in sales in their business simply because I let them come in onto a discounted payment plan. And the structural note that matters the most, when you focus on recurring revenue, you remove the worry. Okay, because you're no longer starting every single month at 0, you're building on the previous one. Now, I know in recurring revenue models, low ticket memberships and all these different things have really started to become popular over the last couple years with school and all that stuff. But if you are selling a recurring based offer, you need to have recurring based deliverables. So you can't sell a recurring based offer for a one-off course. Otherwise, it's not going to work long term, right? So there needs to be some type of recurring delivery support or training that happens inside of your recurring based offers. If you guys are actually trying to build that, right? I can't sell you a one-off course that can be done in 3 days on a monthly subscription, because after you're done in 3 days, you're just going to cancel the subscription. The way that I would need to make it worth the recurring thing would be any type of ongoing workshops, coaching, support, mentorship, etc., that goes in tandem with the actual course. But recurring revenue is probably one of the biggest stress relievers in business. I know starting a month with $20,000 a month in recurring income, it just takes so much pressure and friction off of your business and makes everything else easier. You show up better in your content, you show up better in your conversations, you show up better in absolutely everything, because you no longer need to act and operate your business from a mode of desperation, and you just get to show up. So find yours. Again, this is an exercise for you guys to do. Don't fix anything. Just answer A in order and stop at the first honest no. So stage 1, are you getting the right people? Are enough of the right people seeing anything at all? When they want more of me, is there somewhere obvious to go, right? Do you have somebody to actually, do you have a thing that you can send your audience to that actually builds relationships or nurtures them, right? That actually transfers trust. This could be a resource, a document, a video, some type of lead magnet, so to speak. Am I getting high quality leads or just high volume leads, right? Do I have a ton of leads that aren't buying, or am I actually getting a lower number of leads and they're actually purchasing products? Am I actually in conversations, and are they in the right mode for my season or what I'm optimizing for? Do qualified people see my offer document, or does anybody see my offer document? That's another question you could ask yourself. Conversions, do people who see it move, right? And conversions and sales. Are people actually purchasing? Are they actually buying your products? Are you making consistent sales? Clients, does anyone buy a second time? And then cash flow, does anyone arrive without me pushing? Or is there opportunities for me to start creating recurring revenue? My one bottleneck is stage blank. First fix listed under it. Stop at the first one that's off, not the worst one. The first one, everything downstream of a blockage looks broken, whether it is or not. So fixing stage six while stage 2 is jammed just means doing stage 6 twice, right? So what I mean by that is I'm not making sales, but I don't have any traffic and nobody's actually coming through my system. I don't want to spend a bunch of time trying to fix 3 through 8 because that's not the actual problem, right? This is the actual problem. A lot of the problems will usually be in these first few, and then the offer, and this is a little different from what the offer that I talked about today on this video, but a lot of it will also come down to like the offer you're selling or the transformation you're providing, or do you have a clear offer? Or is it a generalist, make money online, build a business, set up a funnel, BS? Like we need to start getting very curated and crafted towards something specific. The other thing, don't fix what's broken. That's like the other half of this. That's why I wanted to do this. The instinct when things are slow is to change everything, a new offer, a new content style, a new platform, new position. But if 7 of 8 are working and 1 is jammed, tearing down the 7 doesn't unjam the 1. It just means you now have 8 new things that need rebuilding or new testing or fixing instead. So like a big example for this too is like if you are changing a lot of different variables, you also want to do them kind of incrementally. We want to change one thing at a time. Because if I go change, let's say 4 of these in my business and I really start heavily testing in 4 of these different things in my business and something takes off or something gets even worse, I'm not going to know which one of those led to the actual either breakthrough or challenge because I changed too many variables at once. We need to change one variable at a time to actually understand what is happening in the business. Another way that you can also combat this is if you guys actually design your business in a straight line, similar like this. My business is very much in a straight line. And the reason for that is when things start breaking and going wrong with my business, I can actually see very quickly what's happening, right? So that's just something to be aware of if you end up changing too many variables at once. Don't fix what's not broken, but don't ignore what's working. Visit these regularly. This isn't a one-off thing that you'll do once and you'll be good forever. This is continuous ongoing thing that you guys will always be auditing in your own business. So the 3-question check, which stage did I stop at? If I got all the way to 8 without an honest no, go back. You were being generous somewhere. Okay. So we're always going to be struggling with one of these bottlenecks. Again, like I said, this isn't a one-off done thing. This is a continuous audit of your business, of things that you will always be changing, testing, tweaking, optimizing, refining. That's a very real part of building a brand online. It's not like I set something up and I never work again a day in my life. Am I currently working on that stage or a later one? If it's a later one, that's the whole finding. Okay. So if it helped you identify that maybe you're optimizing to fix a problem that's not real, or you're fixing something that you shouldn't be because you're actually business is bottlenecked somewhere else. And then number 3, what's the smallest version of the fix under that stage? Not the rebuild, the first bullet. Okay. 0 social media, 96 days. A client of mine came in with no social media presence at all. By the old diagnosis, that person had a lead problem, an offer problem, an audience problem, a credibility problem, everything at once, which is exactly the read that makes people freeze because you can't fix 6 things. He had 1 blockage stage, attention, stage 1. We didn't touch the offer. We didn't rebuild anything. We fixed the stage that was actually the jam. Just over $10,000 profit in 97 days. This is a proof of concept by actually deploying this process in a customer's business. And I'm not telling you this because of the number. I'm telling you this because this is getting clear on the actual problem that he was in his business and then putting our energy into fixing that one thing. So your next move for the next 24 hours, run the 8, write the number down, and then do the first bullet listed under that stage. Full document will be under this video, not the full rebuild, the first bullet, and don't touch any other stage for a week. The last part is the hard bit, and it's where most people fail at this. They'll try to fix. The other 7 is enormous because working on everything else feels like urgency or we're making progress. It's the opposite. Working on everything is how you spend a quarter and can't point at what changed. You spend an entire quarter working on something and you can't even figure out what actually worked or what broke your business. So 1 stage, 1 fix, 1 week. If you want more leads, post more content, want more sales, make more offers. It stays that simple as long as you're pulling on the right lever. And the whole point of the 8 is finding out which lever that actually is. And that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you got some value from this. Quick little audit that you guys can do in your business, realistically self-diagnosing where things are breaking in your business and ways that you could potentially fix them. So that's all I got for you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.